I will like your input, guys, as well. So, can I ask then? So we've got 1 mile is approximately equal to 1.61 kilometers, and we have to convert 26.2 miles to kilometers. What do you do to set up the problem to be able to solve that one? What should you write? So we've been working on ratios, haven't we? And unit ratios. So I should have written a ratio which would be to do with miles and kilometers, and I can write this. I can write this 1 is equal to 1.6 kilometers, so I can put 1 to 1.61. Is that what you guys did? I think so. There's Marley. I've got Marley. Okay, so then what I would do is write down 26.2 in the miles, because that's what I've got, and then I want to know how many kilometers that would be. So what do I do to get that number? Divide. What would you divide? So what would you get if you divided 1 into 1.61? Difficult one, isn't it? I think when you kind of think, actually, that doesn't, I can't give an answer, probably because it's probably not quite the right thing to do. We can divide 1 into 1.61, but it's not a simple thing. Anyone have a different method rather than dividing? Multiply what? Is that Niall, by the way? Yeah. Why would you do that, Niall? Okay, that's right, isn't it? Because look, I've gone from 1 mile to 26.2 miles. So that means I've taken my amount of miles and I've multiplied it by 26.2. So I've got to do the same, because for every mile I have 1.61 kilometers. So I've got to do 26.2 lots of however many kilometers I get as well. Okay. And what answer do we get? You got your calculators? Well, I tell you what, I get the answer of 42.182 without rounding anything. But I could round that number if I like to 42.2 or something. Now, the reason why I say I wonder whether some people used an online converter is because of this word here is approximately equal to. So miles and kilometers are not exactly 1 to 1.61. And if you were to use an online converter, you'd get a number here that would be slightly different than this one. Okay. So that's why I was a bit, I don't know what you did, whether you did the calculation or not. Did anyone use an online converter for this? No? So that means anyone that got that wrong just got it wrong, must have multiplied by something wrong. Okay? That's the kind of conclusion that I would have to come to. So if you haven't used a converter online, then you must have done something wrong. Okay, and that's what I can't see. So that's why some of you didn't get the marks. But Let me know going through, guys, if you have any questions or anything. All right, next one then. We started to get quite tricky quite early on. Step-by-step approach. If 1 inch is equal to 2.5 centimeters approximately, again, if there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter, convert 300 inches into meters. So, did anyone want to talk us through what they did? A few people got it right. It's kind of a double step process. I'm going to write a ratio again, which is inches to centimeters, and I know that 1 inch is equal to 2.5 centimeters. Yeah, got that? Okay, so I'm going to ignore this bit to start with. All right, and I'm just going to convert my 300 inches. You could have done this a different way. You could have gone to meters first, but I'm just going to work out how many centimeters there are in 300 inches. So what do we do to get how many centimeters there are for 300 inches? Anyone? Alistair, do you know? Yeah, so I want to know how many centimeters would 300 inches be if 1 inch is 2.5 centimeters? What do you I've got an answer, but what do you do, Alistair? Multiply, isn't it? What do you multiply by? But multiply 2.5 by what? 300 again, isn't it? So 1 multiplied by 300 is 300. So we have to multiply by 300. So what is 2.5 multiplied by 300? Say it again. 750, you think? 750. Yeah, I would go with 750. Okay. Right, now that's centimeters though. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to consider my centimeters and meters. So I'm going to say I've got meters and centimeters, and I know that 1 meter is 100 centimeters. How many centimeters have I got now in this question? It's there on the screen, guys. Not a tricky one. Come on. I started with 300 inches and I've already converted that into centimeters in this one, yeah? 750, isn't it? 300 inches is 750 centimeters. So I now need to convert 750 centimeters into meters. That's my next stage. So I'm going to write down my meters into centimeters. Okay. And I can write, I've got 750, but I want to know how many meters. So what do we do, guys? We're not going to do that now because that would give me the approximately, it would give me a slightly different answer. We're going to use the numbers that I've actually given you. We just need to use our ratios again. What do I do to figure out this number? Nick, what would you do? Why? Is that what I do here? No. So I don't do that because that wouldn't give me the right answer. So it's not that. This one is divide, isn't it? Yeah. So what we need to do is figure out how many lots of 100 have I got in 750. Yeah. So we're going to do 750 divided by 100. Yeah. And what do I get? 7.5. So I now know that 7.5 meters is 750 centimeters. Okay. So that means, to answer my question, that 300 inches is how many meters, guys? No, that would be centimeters. Remember, I've converted to meters. So how many meters would it be? 7.5, yeah. 7.5 meters. All right, so it's a tricky one, a double stage question. There are other ways to do it if you had another method, but I'm trying to stick with the ratios thing with you because we can use that with measurements and speed and time and exchange rates and things like that. Any questions on that? So really, we just need to decide, do we multiply or do we divide? Yeah? All right. So next one then. There are 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. Turn 15 grams into kilograms. So I can write my ratio as grams to kilograms, and I've got 1,000 grams is 1 kilogram, and I want to know 15. So what do I do? How many kilograms? This is a difficult question, guys, because people expect to get bigger numbers and things, but I wrote in the Ed puzzle about knowing that kilograms are much smaller things than kilograms. So what do we do? So we've set it up with a ratio. You should be starting to figure out now that if the number is not under the 1, I'm not going to multiply because I don't know. All right. So if I can't multiply, what have I got to do? Divide. I've got to figure out, okay, what to do. So with division, any ideas? Okay. So if we do 15 divided by 1,000, what do we get? Exactly. 0.015. So that means that 15 grams is the same as 0.015 kilograms. Any questions, guys? So we've used our ratio again, sort of having that consistent approach. All right. So the next part of our unit then was about speed. So this wasn't too bad, was it? So again, speed is our rate, and we compare distance and time, so miles and hours. So what's the speed? So we know that we go 400 miles in sorry, I've written that in the wrong place, in 5 hours. Okay. But what's the important thing when we do speed, what do we have to have? So we need our unit rate. So time has to be the unit, doesn't it? So I need to know how many hours. One, yeah, because that's my unit rate. So I need to know if I can do 400 miles in 5 hours, I need to know how far I would go in 1 hour. So what do I do? Multiply or divide by 5. So if we do 400 divide by 5, we get 80. So the answer is my speed is 80 what? Miles per hour. Good. Miles per hour. MPH. Okay. No questions? All good? All good. Okay. This one was people answered it in different ways. All right. So the thing with this question, you had to decide who was faster, but you had to give me correct values for their speeds to justify your answer. If you just wrote Harry is faster with no evidence, then I couldn't give you any marks because that's just a 50-50 guess. So you had to put why. So a few of you got this good. You used a method maybe I wouldn't have done or would do, but who would like to talk me through what they did? No? No one? Well, let's have a look then. So we've got to do Harry and we've got to do Susan and we've got to compare. So the difference with Harry and Susan is Harry did 8 kilometers, but Susan only runs 6. Now, Harry takes longer than Susan, but he ran further. So he might have been going faster. We don't know. So we need to justify our answer. So there are lots of ways that we could do it, but I'm going to say Harry in kilometers and minutes did 8 and 45, but Susan kilometers and minutes did 6 and 35. Now, there are different ways to do this. Now, you can calculate their speeds. Some of you actually calculated what we called their pace, but that was fine. Pace and speed are actually they're different units, but what do people do? So we're talking about unit rates. Would anyone like to tell me what you focused on then? What did you do to be able to compare them? So there are two options. Normally with speed, which measurement, kilometers or minutes, would be the unit? So normally time would be the unit, yeah? So we would figure out how far did Harry go in 1 minute? Yeah? And how would we work that out? Say it again. Someone? Anyone? How do we work out how far he'd go in 1 minute? Divide by 45. So let's divide 8 by 45. And what do we get? Some decimals. 0.177 goes on forever. My little dot. Okay. So that's how far he runs in 1 minute. Now that's in kilometers. I could change that into meters if I wanted to, but I don't need to because I just want to compare. So what do I do to Susan's then? I need 1 as well because this is my time. What do I do? Multiply or divide? Sam? What do I do here to work out Susan's distance? Do I multiply or divide? What by? Okay. So then we would do 6 divided by 35 and we would get 0.1714. So then we compare those two things, Harry and Susan, and we say in 1 minute, Harry goes 0.17, shall I round it up to 8 kilometers, and Susan goes 0.171 kilometers. So who's running faster? Harry. Okay. So that was doing speed. I'm almost out of time. But what I want to do is I want to show some of you did it using the same method, but slightly differently. So that's speed. Now I'm going to go through Harry, but I'm going to talk about this word pace, which is what a lot of runners and athletes use. And in athletics, we don't tend to do it in terms of how far we would go in 1 minute. So 8 kilometers and 45 minutes for Harry. When we do pace, we actually work out how many minutes would it take me to do 1 kilometer. So what would I do if I did it this way round? Would I multiply or divide? Marley, would I multiply or divide? Yeah, divide by. Nope. Nope. We divide by this number to get to 1. So we actually divide by 8 because this is the side I know. Yeah. So this side I have to divide by 8 as well. So if I do 45 divided by 8, I get 5.625. So I know that this is a speed is 0.178 kilometers per minute. Okay. But Harry's pace, we call, is 5.625 minutes per kilometer. Okay. So it's pretty quick. All right. Now, I saw quite a few of you did this answer, which is fine because you worked it out for Harry and Susan, and you would end up with the same conclusion. All right. Make sense? The difference between, so in speed we have minutes, the time is the unit, but in pace the distance is the unit. Okay, make sense? Yeah, good. All right, now we've got a couple of other things. We've got the bird one we could talk about. What I'll do, guys, is I'm going to pause record now. So to sort out this Starling question, so we are told that it's a bird, it can fly at 22.2 meters per second. So you've been given a speed already, but you're going to convert the speed into different units, so kilometers per hour. So what we need to do is we set up our ratio like we did before. So we've got our distance and time. So 22 meters per second means that we do 22.2 meters in 1 second. But what I need is to change, so meters needs to be written as kilometers, okay, and time needs to be written as hours. So you can do either or, but I'm going to decide that I'm going to go from time first. So in time, to go from 1 second up to 1 minute, okay, I would have to multiply by 60 because there are 60 seconds in a minute. So if we can do that in 1 second, you'll be able to do 60 lots of that in 1 minute. So if I do 22.2 meters in 1 minute, if I multiply that by 60, I get 1,332 meters, but in 1 minute. Just check my work there. Double check on the calculator. Yeah, I'm happy. Right, but that's still not in hours. So I want to know what 1 hour. So how many minutes are there in an hour? So again, I'm going to multiply by 60 again. So if the bird can do that many meters in 1 minute, seems like a lot, he's going quick, then he can obviously do a lot more than that if you consider it going for a whole hour. Now, we might not be able to go for an entire hour at that speed, but that would be a speed he could reach. So if I multiply that number by 60, I get 79,920 meters in 1 hour. So that's the hour bit done. So I'm happy with the hour, but I need to know how many kilometers because I'm in meters. So I know that 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters. Okay. So how many would there be? Right. So if I've got 79,920 meters, how many kilometers would that be? Well, I think what we've done, we know that we're going to divide by 1,000. So how many lots of 1,000 fit into here? And that'll tell me how many kilometers I've got. So if I do 79,920, I get 79.92. Okay, so that means this number, when converted, so we do that this time divided by 1,000. Okay, all right, so that's 79.92 kilometers. Now, I don't divide this one because I am just converting units rather than having a new ratio. This is just a conversion of units. So I'm not going to write my divide by 1,000 here. This is why I put it over here. So that is a convert units rather than changing the ratio. So I've got 79.2. Instead of meters, it's now kilometers, and it's still in the 1 hour. So my speed would be 79.92 kilometers per hour for that question. Okay. Okay, now we've got exchange rates. So I've got Swiss francs to US dollars. So my one is mine. So for 1 Swiss franc, I would get 1.0358 US dollars. So I get more dollars than I would have francs. So if we convert 40 francs into US dollars, what do I do? So I use my ratios. So I've got my francs to US dollars. So if I've got 1 to 1.0358, I'm converting 40 francs. How many US dollars? Well, that's multiplied by 40. Okay, so on my calculator, I'm going to do 1.0358 multiplied by 40. I get 41.432. So not many more dollars, but I can check. I've got slightly more dollars than I did have francs, and that's correct. Okay, so for every 1 franc, I must get that many dollars. So 40 francs, I've got to have 40 lots of that 1.0358. So the answer to this question would be I would have 41.432 if you like, but we know that we should round our money to 2 decimal places. Now some of you might even say, well, if it's a currency that you don't get ones in, for instance, some currencies, like I know in some currencies there aren't ones, the smallest they have is a 5, you would then not even be able to get that, so you round it differently. But we're happy with 41.432 or 41.43 if you've rounded it to 2 decimal places. Okay, so big question here, right? So we're going from Indian rupees all the way to Brazilian real, okay, via euros. So I know that I've got to convert to euros and then euros to real, not straight from rupees to the Brazilian real. Okay, so what we do first is I know I've got 500, so I'm going to use this ratio up here, 1 to 0.0121. So I've got 500 rupees, and I'm going to convert to euros. So that we know we have 1 for every 0.0121. So if I get 500 ones, I've also got to have 500 lots of that amount of euros. So it should be a much smaller number because you don't get many euros for 1 rupee. So I'm going 0.0121 multiplied by 500 equals 6.05. So that's the euros. So I now know I've got 6.05 euros. It's not that much money, is it? Okay. So let's now use this to convert to Brazilian real. So if 1 euro is 5.869, oh, writing in the wrong place like earlier. 1 euro is 5.869 Brazilian real. Now I know I've got 6.05 euros. So same process again. I'm just going to multiply by 6.05 both sides, and without doing any rounding, 35.50745. So that 35.50745 Brazilian reals. So if I round that, I would then have 35.51 maybe Brazilian reals. So that would be the answer to my question here. Okay, so just to summarize then, I can say 3-part ratio Okay, so I started with 500 rupees, that then gave me 6.05 euros, and that gave me 35.51 Brazilian reals. So that's the process that we went through, starting here and finishing here. Okay. Okay. So this question is about finding a reverse ratio to get back from one currency to the other that you started with. So what I need to do is set up my ratios again. So if I've got KES to Australian dollars, okay, I know that one of those gives me 0.014. Now, it's written the other way around, but really if I keep it this way, I then want to know if I've only got one of those, how many Kenyan shillings will I have? Okay, all right. So what I need to do is figure out how many of these make up a whole 1 Australian dollar. So I'm going to do my 1 divided by the 0.014, and that tells me how many of these I would get. Okay, so 1 divided by 0.014 is 71.428 by 714, but I can probably round that to 71.43. Okay, so that I now know, think of division, but we also know division and multiplication are linked, so I know that that would be multiplied by 71.43. Okay, that's how many of these make 1. So I've got to do the same on the other side. Multiply by 71.43, which is easy because 1 multiplied by 71.43 is 71.43. Okay, so that's, what is the exchange rate? Well, it's 1 Australian dollar is equal to 71.43 Kenyan shillings, to finish off the question. Okay. So, final question, I believe. Lots of information here. Okay, so it's about converting some money, spending some money, and then converting what you've got left back. Okay, so first of all, we've got this conversion rate, this exchange rate. So I change 250 rand, African rands, into Chilean pesos. So I'm going to write my 1 to 46.4. That's the rand, and this is the Chilean pesos. So if I've got 250, what do I do? Same as everything we've been doing. Let's multiply by 250. Okay. Sorry about the mess. So then 46.4 multiplied by 250 gives me 11,600 Chilean pesos. So that's how much I had. So I had this many rand. I've now got changed it into pesos. So that's what I'm going to spend. Thinking about what happens in your assessment coming up, I'm going to change money because I'm going to a different country. So I'm on holiday in Chile, right? And there I spend 400. So if I have 11,600 Chilean pesos, but I spend 400, I'm going to subtract 400. Okay, that gives me 11,200 pesos that are left. Okay, so I didn't spend very much really, did I? Considering the numbers. Not a very good holiday. Maybe my parents were paying for everything for me. Right, but what I will need to do is I need to go back home, and Chilean pesos are no good back in South Africa, so I need to convert them back. All right, so I still have this exchange rate, so my rand to pesos is 1 to 46.4, but instead of the 11,600, I've now got only 11,200. So what do? We need to figure out how many of these do I have, and then I can have 1 rand for each one lot of those. So I'm going to do my 11,200 divided by 46.4. 11,200 divided by 46.4 is equal to 241.37931. So that's what we are multiplying by, 241 point, I'm going to round that to 38. So that's what we multiply on this side, 241.38. So 1 multiplied by that gives me 241.38. So I have 241.38 South African rand when I get back. So I went with 250, I come back with 241. I really didn't spend very much at all.